reading practice, I want to review the letters that look alike, because last time when I shared this with you, it was probably largely academic. But now, assuming you did your homework and I'm believing in you, I have faith that you're all doing your homework until you give me a reason not to believe you, okay? So that's the assumption, that you're doing your homework, and we have a couple new students, so of course they couldn't do what they didn't know about. By the way, please take note of the link. For this class, it's always going to be the Simchat Hashem room, okay? I understand there's some of my intermediate students have they have a study group, and sometimes they use a different room for that, okay? That's different. For here, I want it to be the same as when I give my Shabbat drashes or other teachings, so you can have one link and that's it. Or if you go to meeting, you can type in Simchat-Hashem. You should be able to find it, no problem. I'll type this here for you guys. That's if you want to do a room lookup, Simchat-Hashem. That means the joy of Hashem, right? Hashem means the name, right? Like who God is, that's God. Okay. Number one. Now we're going to practice some of these letters that look alike, okay? Number one, try to read it for yourself, and then I'll chime in. Case. K, letter K. Case. Number two, be careful, it's a similar looking letter, but it's different. Base. B, like boy. Base. Case and base. All right? Notice the bait has a little tail on the side, right? There's like a little tail sticking out. Unless you're like me, when I take notes, I over-exaggerate my bait if I'm doing print, make it really stick out. Okay? Number three. When I buy a house, I'm going to get the deed. You're going to get the deed. When you buy a house, you get the deed to the house. E. Notice the yod has no vowel. Nothing under, nothing next to, nothing above. Right? He is part of the vowel. That's a long character. E. Deed. Okay? Now look carefully at number 4. Be very careful. Look, the first letter is not the same as the last letter. You see, they're slightly different. And it's interesting. In the Talmud, in tractate Sopherim, the Talmud, the sages in the Talmud, they actually warn the Sopherim, the scribes. That's what Sopher is. It's a scribe, right? A Sopher writes a sefer, writes a book, right? Or copies a book. The rabbis, they warn them, be careful of this letter, Resh and Dalet, when you're copying the Torah scroll, when you're writing it. Be very careful. Note, this shape here is different. There's like a little curvy shape here. Or it sticks out a bit, right, to the right. Here, it's just an arc. See, it's just curving, right? This one, I shouldn't have said curvy shape. I should have said it like bumps out and then comes back, okay? Here, just an arc, okay? So this one up here, number 3 is deed, but this one down here, number 4 is read, r. That's the Israeli R sound. Read. Number 5. Try to read it before me. Red. Look, it's a resh and a dalet. See, they're different. These are different letters. Red. And if you have access to a larger device, if you're watching this on a phone, that's fine. I don't know if you can pinch and enhance, just like make bigger when I'm doing these letters or not. If not, if you have access to casting to a TV or looking at a tablet or a laptop, you're watching on a laptop or a computer screen, that's probably better. Right? We are broadcasting this in HD, so you should be able to see the definitions of the letters a little bit better. And Baruch Hashem, DSL is good today. All right, number 5. Red. If you want to do it with an American accent, red. Just so that you can see, this is the kind of quasi-R sound. Reish. It's a reish. Letter reish. Number 6. And this is actually, this letter, for Sabras, for those, I'm not a Sabra, which means I wasn't born in Israel. So, for those who are actually born in Israel, instead of moving there later in life, the you can notice their accent when they speak English. They've got this distinctive, do you really want to do this? Really? Right? You've got the I haven't heard that from any other speaker of another language. You get the so that's kind of one way you can identify if you're in Thailand going around. And a lot of Israelis go to Thailand after they're done with the army, right, to spend their time there. You'll hear them, I will not give you this much reish. You get the reish coming through. So this is red, red. And of course they mean the color red in English, right? Red. Red. Number 6. Hull. Hull. And 6 and 7, they don't look that alike. But sometimes, if you're reading a handwritten scroll, this could be up a little bit higher. You could see maybe the tail end wasn't exaggerated enough. So this is tal. Tal. Like Neanderthal. Tal. Number 8. Veal. Veal. Very delicious is veal. Number 9. So we're showing you here how Vav and Zion are very similar. Number 9 is zeal. Zeal. The Maccabees had great zeal for the Lord, and that's why they revolted, and we celebrated Hanukkah recently as they overthrew the pagan Syrian Greek king Antiochus Epiphanes. 10. Car. Car. Drive around in a car. Number 11. Number 11 is loom. 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 Do not let darkness loom about you. Just to reiterate, these are not supposed to be Hebrew words, okay? They're English words written with Hebrew letters. Number 12. This one is demonstrating that the mem sofit, the m sound, when it's the last letter, is written like this, and it's not to confuse it with the samech. This is a s. You see how the mem, the final form of the mem, is kind of blocky here? We got a little bit of a curve here, but it's blocky here, and then we kind of angle it at the end. You have like the hat. Well, the samech, it starts with the same hat, it's got the same curve, and even this part is kind of the same as he tucks in, but the whole rest of the letter is curvy. This is an S sound, samech. So number 11 is loom, but number 12 is loose. Loose. When Yeshua HaMashiach says that whatever we bind on earth will be bound, and what we loose will be loosed, this is talking about Torah commandments, interpretations that the leadership, i.e. the disciples in that case, will have the authority to interpret the commandments. So when a rabbi looses a command, what it means is that his hedge around the command is lessened, right? So in our tradition, we always have a practice of putting a hedge around the mitzvot, around the commandments, so that if you, for example, I practice shomer nega, which means that I don't shake a girl's hand, a woman's hand, right? And so presumably this is a hedge around doing things that you shouldn't do, right? And so if in the case I did shake a girl's hand, like sometimes I go to an event and they don't know I'm Jewish, or maybe they don't know the culture, and they'll just shove their hand out there, or they don't understand when I bow to them that I'm bowing to show that I'm not going to shake your hand, but I respect you, and they still shove their hand. I'll go ahead and shake it, right, not to offend them, because it's not a sin. It's a hedge, right? There's nothing sinful about shaking a woman's hand. It's just a hedge. And so this is what Yeshua is talking about. If the rabbi says to you, okay, you don't have to do shomer nega, you can just shake hands as you like with the opposite sex, no problem. This is loosing something on earth. It's loosing it, so the person is not guilty of a violation in the heavenly court because the earthly court has loosed it. A rabbi can do it, or you can actually have, it depends on the severity, a beit din, a religious court, right, which we have in the Torah, can actually bind and loose things. So in particular communities, it's hard to do certain observances. So they might loosen, for example, Sabbath observances and say, okay, this community is allowed to travel further on the Sabbath day than traditionally our ancestors have said. Or you might have a community where it needs to be bound. It needs to be more tightened, right? This is not about demons, loosing demons, binding demons, and loosing demons. This is halakhic language. This is Jewish language about commandments. So Yeshua is teaching his disciples with regards to the Torah commandments. When they put a hedge around them and make them harder for people, as we see, Yeshua himself, the Messiah, he also hardened the commandments in some cases. So, for example, he says regarding adultery, you may have heard in times past, etc. He talks about the lotin af, you shall not commit adultery. But he says, I say to you, even if you look at a woman who is not yours with lust in your heart, then or the implication is another man's wife, then you have committed adultery with her in your heart, right? Or he says, you've heard not to murder, lo tirtzach. But I say that even if you're angry with your brother, right, then you've done violence against him in your heart. You've murdered him in your heart, right? And so what he's doing is he's binding. He's taking those commandments. He's not saying you can delete the commandments. He's saying I'm making them tougher. Even I'm going to toughen them. And this is part of our lessons. I'm trying to work in the culture of the Bible into our lesson every time. We'll have some little bit of cultural thing that's happening. So if you're a Hebrew roots person from the Hebrew roots movement, one thing I'm just going to pick on in that movement, oftentimes they'll make the mistake of thinking that this is what's called adding to or taking away, right? There's a commandment not to add or take away. And what that commandment means is that you cannot change the Bible. It means do not take the book of Exodus and erase certain words, that's taking away, or add certain words. That's the sin of adding to or taking away. You're changing the text of one of the books of the Bible. It does not mean putting a hedge around a commandment, right? Like we see the Messiah himself does. He makes it harder. Adultery is now a much easier sin to commit because the Messiah is saying, if you do it in your heart, in your mind, you're already doing it, right? Murder is already a much easier sin to commit because he's made the hedge a much more difficult hedge around the commandment. So he has bound that commandment even more. If he had loosed it, then it would be different, right? So we have other ones that are loosed. All right, so that's that. So loose made me think of that. Number 13. Try to read number 13. Pop. Pop. This is the P with the dot in it. Pop. Number 14, look what they're doing. They didn't write the tzadi. This would have been a tzadi final form, but we have it as the normal form we see for this letter. It's to demonstrate the ayin up above is different from the tzadi. You see how it's different? They look similar on the top part, right? Very similar depending on how people write it. We have a little bit of an overhang here, where here it doesn't overhang. It doesn't come over across. It comes down. And then here, this top part, it does look like an ayin, but then we come over and, well, like this, right? So there's some difference. So this next word is pots. Pots. So it's a bad word in Yiddish. It's another Jewish language. All right? But they mean pots and pans. They mean the English, of course. 15. You use a whole lot of internet if instead of using GoToMeeting, you use Zoom. Zoom. Zoom will eat your internet right up. Zoom. Okay. I want you to take 2 minutes and look. Why did it do that? Look through these words and read them for yourself. Read them aloud. Practice reading them. If you have a question on any of them, mark them. You're allowed to ask me. That's fine. And then I will read them rapidly when we're done. Timer starts now. All right, and we're back. So, were there any questions on these? Anything you found difficult or strange? You can either write it or ask with your microphone. All right. I'll just go through them quickly then. Starting with number 1, going down. Case. Number 2, base. Number 3, deed. Number 4, read. Number 5, red. Number 6, hal. Number 7, tal. Number 8, vil. Number 9, zil. Number 10, kal. Number 11, loom. Number 12, loose. Number 13, pop. Number 14, pots. Number 15, zoom. Reading practice, letters which sound alike, continued. Number 1, try to read that for yourself. Vase. Vase. Letter V because there's no dot in it. And just so we're clear, if you're looking at a word in the Bible, let's say you learned the word Beit, meaning house of, like Beit Lechem, house of bread. That's where Bethlehem comes from. And you learned it with the B, the hard B. And then you see it somewhere else as Veit Lechem. It's the exact same word, exact same meaning. There's just, for phonics reasons, it's being pronounced as a V in that place, okay? So do not be confused. If it's written with the same consonants and the context and everything, it's the same word. All right? Number 2 is also pronounced today, vase. In ancient times, this would have been a W, so it would have been vase, w. But today, it's v, vase. Number 3, take a second, try to read that. Bach. 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 Number 4, try to read this one. So in the previous slide, we were talking about letters which look alike, and now we're talking about letters which sound alike. Number 4 is also Bach. In ancient times, this was a shorter, up on the roof of the mouth, and some still pronounce it this way. But you'll find the variants in Israel, most people, they pronounce these the same. Number 5, Tal. Tal. Number 6, try to read that for yourself. Tal. Tal, right? So we have tet and tav, both sounding the same. Number 7, kal. Kal. Number 8, the same, kal. Although we transliterate this one as a Q and this one as a K, for practical purposes, it's the same sound. Number 9, for practical purposes, it's the same sound. Same. So this is samech, making an S sound. Number 10 illustrates seen. So don't get confused. If the dot is over here on the right side, this is sh. If the dot is on the left side, as it is here, then it's the same pronunciation as the samech, S. Same. Number 9 is same. Number 10 is same. All right, just take one moment and look through these and try to say them for yourself. All right, and we're back in rapid fire. Number 1, vase. Number 2, vase. Number 3, Bach. Number 4, Bach. Number 5, Tal. Now look in the next column. Number 6, Tal. Number 7, Kal. Number 8, Kal. Number 9, same. Number 10, same. Any questions or comments on those? Okay. Next slide. Let's do some more reading practice. Try to read number 1 before me, and then I will read it. Game. Game. And you might see this with a dot, a dagesh, and without a dot. Today the pronunciation is the same either way. Number 4. Rein. Rein. Number 3. Bal. Right? You have your composite schwa, so we just use the second marker to know how to pronounce it. Bal. Number 4. Notice the dot on the left side of this letter. Safe. 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 Number 5. Notice that the yod has no vowels under it, no vowels next to it, and no vowels above it. So this means it's a vowel letter. It's functioning as part of the vowel sign or symbology. Key. 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 Number 6. Look, the vowels on top. Look under, look next to, nothing, up on top. Note. Note. The musical note. All right, number 7. Look where the dot is. It's not on the right side, so it's not sh. Sane. We are all sane. Sane. Number 8. Hen. 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 We usually don't eat roosters, we eat hen. Number 9. Egg. You get the egg from the hen. Egg. And you'll notice the aleph, it's just a placeholder today for the vowel sound. Yes, it used to have a pronunciation, the same as alif in Arabic for those who have had contact with that language, but today we just use it as a placeholder for the vowel sound. So, egg. Egg. Number 10. She. 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 Sorry, the computer was frozen there for a bit. Number 10. Oops, looks like I made, okay, I copied 10 up here. So I duplicated 10 all over again. We should have started with 11. 10 is the same as 10. 11. Ro. Ro. Ro versus Wade was a justice catastrophe. Number 12. Vote. 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 In Chicago, the dead people vote. 13. Zoo. 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 Number 14. You. 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 Could also be ya. Number 15. Notice we have a chatav comets here. So it's a composite schwa. So we with the short pronunciation of that vowel sign. So that's going to be an O sound. Node. Node. In the linked list, we traverse the node. That was most important. 16. Bake. 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 Number 17. Cake. 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 Number 18. Si. 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 Though when there's the accent, it can be si. Number 19. Notice the dot is on the left of the letter here, so this is an S sound. C. 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 Again, you know the yod is part of the vowel sign because it does not have a vowel symbol attached to it. There's no schwa and there's no vowel sign on it, so it's part of the vowel. Number 20. Oats. So the second letter here is the vowel. That's the O, the cholam. Oats. Oats. We have one more column on the slide. Number 21. Vet. 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 Number 22. Lean. 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 Number 23. Again, we're not going to pronounce the aleph, so we say aim. 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 Number 24. This first letter is another letter that we really don't usually pronounce today. Some people do. If they're Jewish and from an Arab-speaking country or something, they'll pronounce it. I like to pronounce it a little bit, to under-exaggerate it, to call to mind that there's a difference between aleph and ayin. But many Israelis today, they just don't pronounce these. They just go with whatever vowel sound is with it. So you can either say this as aim without pronouncing it, aim, or you could say aim, aim, aim. Number 25. Note the dot on the left side. It's not sh, it's s. Seoul. The capital of Korea is Seoul. Seoul. Number 26. Again, be trying to read these. Need. 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 Number 27. kneel. Number 28, roof, roof, roof is not on fire. Number 29, gate, gate, gate. Number 30, cots, cots. Remember, this is the tzadi. It's a TS at the end. Cots. That's the final form of the tzadi. And up here we had the final form of the fe. Roof, gate, and cots. All right, take a couple minutes. Try to read them for yourself. Take note of any difficulties you have. All right, that should be enough time that you read through them yourself. I will go quickly through them now. Number 1, game. Number 2, rein. Number 3, bal. Number 4, safe. Number 5, key. Number 6, not. Number 7, sane. Number 8, hen. Number 9, egg. Number 10, she. 10, repeated again. Number 11, ro. Number 12, vot. Number 13, zu. Number 14, you or ya. Number 15, nod. Number 16, bake. Number 17, cake. Number 18, si, although it can also be si. Number 19, si. Number 20, ot. Number 21, vet. Number 22, lean. Number 23, ein. Number 24, ein. Number 25, sol. Number 26, need. Number 27, kneel. Number 28, roof. Number 29, gate. Number 30, cuts. All right. Let's read some complete sentences now. And if we were in a classroom setting, I would call on some of you to read right now. But in the interest of time, to make sure we finish within 2 hours and technical issues, I think I will just read it for you. But here's what I want you to do. This number one, this pseudo verse, I want you to try to read the first word right now. You don't have to do it on your microphones. Just try to read it aloud for yourself. Practice it. All right, and now I will. Bara. Right? B is in boy. Reish. Bara, which means he created. Try to read the second word. Elohim. Elohim. L-O-Im. That means God. So God created. Read the third word. Et. Et. We don't translate this word. This just tells us that the definite object is coming up next. The direct object, and it's definite, meaning it's very specific. Read the last word. Ha. Sha. Ma. Yim. Ha-shamayim, the heavens. All right, let's look now at Genesis 1, verse 4, from verse 4. Number 2, this word you already had above, so you should know that it's Elohim et o. Ha-o ki tov. So this is part of the verse, not the whole verse. It says, and God saw et ha'ol, the light, ki tov. Literally, that good. Okay, number 3, a chunk from verse 5. Number 3. You should be reading this yourself. That's why I'm pausing. Vokel, 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 which means morning. Read the next word, please. The second letter is a vowel sound. This is a full cholam, an O sound. So this is the vowel that's associated with the yod. Yom, yom, yom. Read the last word in that sentence. Echad. Echad. Echad, which means united or one. Number 4. So a few words from verse 11. Read the first word. Sorry, cat jumped on my leg. Ha-aretz. Ha-aretz, which means the earth or the land. Read the second word, please. Deshe. Deshe. Notice the dot is on the right, so it's a sheen, not a seen. It's a sh. Deshe. Deshe. which is like grass or green things. Read the last word. Aisev. Aisev. Notice here we have a sheen, and here we have a seen. So this is Aisev, which is like herbage, herbs, that kind of stuff. Any questions so far? Sit tight. We're approaching the end of the class. No questions?